Greetings and welcome into the Sports Shuffle. It
We're
is October 6th.
we're just happy to be back, and after that weather week from hell, that could have definitely been a lot worse. Especially when I'm sure you've seen the video of the dude who's swimming in his house, which is absolutely freaky. And then there's the other one where it's literally showing you just a wall of water. I mean, you look outside, it is a freaking wall of water, and just insane sights, insane stories. I think was it Sanibel and Captiva of the whole you know it's bad when they're talking about entire bridge is gone and a whole island of people are basically cut off from civilization because you just tend to think logistically like you or I, like, okay, well, we'll go to the store, well, we have packages coming, you have mail, and now all of a sudden when you have a major choke point, a major way of being transported back and forth is gone logistically wise. I mean, boy, you don't even want to think about how long that's going to be taking to restore, because it's one thing to talk about getting the power back, getting everything, but when you have with Charlotte County and Lee County, when you're talking whole infrastructure is gone. I mean, it's different between just sending out the linemen, getting everything going back, but when you're talking about the whole freaking infrastructure is gone. I mean, that's got to be months
Yeah, we'll
just
we'll, we'll talk
easily.
about Ian first, I
Just
guess.
well, yeah. I
Um,
mean, and then you had the insane story with the NICU unit, all the whole kids that had to be airlifted out of the hospital. I mean, just some of these stories that come in just make you really realize how lucky Tampa Bay was when all of a sudden the model shifted, when all of a sudden it was looking like it was going to go right smack into us in here in Tampa, and then just all of a sudden it did the Charlie turn.
it did. And while we're on the topic of the storm, there's no board behind me because that is evacuated. We don't have all of our possessions. We packed up everything because we're in a manufactured home in
Yeah,
Palmetto, Florida.
I saw that video, because that video definitely encourages one. We might not want to hunker down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a manufactured home in Palmetto, Florida. If you don't know where that is, it's across the Skyway from St. Petersburg, which is Tampa Bay area. This goes into Tampa Bay. I don't have a home. Point blank. So we evacuate everything. The stuff behind me is stuff that has already come back. The reason that is not the Jason Taylor jersey is because the Jason Taylor jersey is still in Rotunda, Florida, because originally we were going to go to Rotunda, Florida to evacuate. And if you don't know where Rotunda, Florida is, it is the eastern eye wall where it sat for about 9 hours. We did not go there. We ended up diverting to Orlando on Tuesday because I got jittery. I don't normally get jittery, but I was unable to focus. I was jittery because we're packing all of our stuff, and we're going to go directly in the path of what ended up almost being a Category 5 hurricane. So we end up in Orlando. Family is in Charlotte County. I believe all but my parents now, between my in-laws and my grandparents and parents, have power back already. I will say Charlotte County fared a lot better than I would have expected given the storm, but then again, they got whacked by Charlie 18 years prior.
I mean,
And
when you
yeah,
looked at Ground Zero, it was basically looked like an effing nuke had been dropped.
for what it's worth, Charlotte County got hit hard. Lee and Collier County got the worst of it. Period. They got the water. Englewood, Northport actually got hit pretty hard as well. That's Sarasota
Well, you
County.
see some of those like the marina pictures, and you're just like, good God.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad for a lot of people. We have people in our community here in Palmetto that do not have roofs on their houses right now, that do not have carports, that our person across the street got punctured. One of the pieces of roofing came off of their house
Boy,
and punctured their house.
holy.
So, very lucky that it didn't go to Tampa Bay. Unfortunately for Lee, Charlotte, Sarasota, and Collier counties, it went to them instead. Northport is still very much underwater to the point where there are people being rescued from their homes in boats. Fortunately, there's a weird thing about Northport. It's like the roads are down here, the houses are up here. So if you actually look at the aerial photo, you'll see like little islands with a house on it. then water all around it. Then the next house, there's a little island with another house on it. Then you go down, there's more water. It's just a bizarre thing. Um, but yeah, all my family got through just fine. Again, my parents still without power. I believe my in-laws, they all live in a three-house stretch. I believe they all got power back yesterday, if I heard correctly. I'll be going down to evacuate back the rest of my stuff tomorrow, so I'll have a better update on that on Sunday or Saturday when we're on next, presumably. Uh, but it was a very bizarre and dangerous situation. If you're in a position to help, whether it's by manpower with your physical hands going down to help move stuff or just donating, please consider do so. I know the company I work for did donate 50 grand towards the recovery effort, so good for them. That came out today. Because of course we're in Florida. We were in the crosshairs for a very, very long time. Unfortunately for my mother, Wednesday when the storm hit was her birthday. So not the best birthday present, but she got
I know my birthday was on Sunday. That was just like happy birthday. Here comes a hurricane. Yay.
So yeah, we were isolated in a hotel in Orlando. If you don't know how hurricanes work, because you've never experienced one, there's several terrifying things. The first thing is I'm in Connecticut. What's going on with the death toll? I saw 125 was the last one, but it could be increasing. It's I know Biden at one point said possibly the most deadly hurricane that's ever hit the state of Florida. I know it is, as of right now, the most deadly
Especially
one
with
in
all
90
the
years.
especially with all the deaths that they discovered that until all of a sudden that you thought it was going to be uh, just a horrific storm, and then just just some of the things they uncovered in Central Florida, just oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have some bad times in Central Florida, but anybody in that storm surge that was in their house, it was up to the attics. I mean, if you got stuck in your house, there was nowhere for you to go. So again, if anybody has relatives, if you've never been familiar with the storm, you will lose cell service. I know there are places up here closer to where I live that still don't have full service. I know my parents, my in-laws all do not have cell service. So if you're trying to get in touch with someone from Charlotte, Lee, Collier County, and you're not, don't panic. It's actually pretty normal. But it's very, very frustrating. This is my wife's first major experience with a hurricane. We all went through Irma a few years ago, so she wasn't used to. I have no service. They have no power. Um, it's just a really bad situation. Don, hopefully it doesn't go any higher. Obviously, 125 to 140 is already too many deaths from this hurricane, so hopefully it doesn't go up anymore. But I do know it's a very bad situation. Charlotte County seems to be recovering pretty quickly, but the southern Lee, Collier, and inland counties might take a little bit longer, especially with all that water.
And what's absolutely insane is still it barreled through Florida and then it hit Carolina as a Cat 1. So.
Yeah, it crawled through Florida. Orlando got flooded really badly to the point where we had to delay coming back for a few hours while the water actually had to recede a little bit, and we weren't even in the worst parts. This, I don't want to overstate it because Katrina was terrible. Michael was terrible. Don, happy to provide any information we can for anybody, of course. 'Cause I know people up north, they're not getting information. It's just very tough, especially if you're looking for people down here. Michael was a Category 5. Andrew was a Category 5, but this is going to be in that category.
Also, I think even Verizon was having 911 troubles. I remember seeing yesterday for a couple of counties.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where whatever could go wrong was going wrong. Lee and Collier were offline for a very long time with the 911 system. I think Manatee County in the last couple of days had an issue, but they got it fixed. So really, really unfortunate, really, really terrifying situation. And I unfortunately think that death toll is going to rise, but I really hope it doesn't. 125 is too many. But yeah, figured since we are a sports show, but we are in Florida, we got to talk about the real world first. Get through all of that. Fortunately, for at least our point of views, our families, our friends, as far as we've gotten in touch with, have all been safe. I have heard from some people down in Fort Myers and in Collier County and Cape Coral. They got through pretty much unscathed. But again, if you're in the path of the water, that's the worst thing you can do. You run from the water, you hide from the wind when it comes to a hurricane. But this is an all-timer.
Because it changed very dramatically. I think from you had it went from it sandwiched from Tua into Ian. I think that was basically that's if we can think of any kind of way to segue from just the horrific events of what happened in the hurricane to what was going on before. Just all of a sudden, a snapshot of okay, here's everything going on, and holy crap, all this happened, and then it's slowly going back to normality, whatever the hell normal is anyway. Do we know what normal is?
I'll say this right now: nothing in Florida seems normal. Period. Even if you are, where I'm at, where I was at work today, most people were in the office. We had actually had our CEO come down and visit us to say, "Hey, how's everybody doing?" It doesn't feel normal. You know that we just had what we had.
You know,
So again, we're in a hotel in Orlando. We wanted to separate, so we did hear all this to it. I actually got to watch the game on Thursday night last week, but the next day, everybody's freaking about Tua. And yes, that was a bad situation. We'll get into it here shortly, but it was one of those like, you do realize that Florida just had a much bigger tragedy than a quarterback getting a concussion, right? so, but we do want to at least acknowledge and give out whatever information we can that Florida is recovering pretty quickly. I think things are starting to get back to normal in some places, obviously. It's going to take some more time for Sanibel. Pine Island, it's going to take months. There's no livable dwellings on Sanibel Island from a story I heard today or read today.
yeah, when you saw the picture, no cars. I mean, you're just absolutely chilling.
Yeah, it was. Again, this is possibly the worst storm to hit Florida since Andrew for overall effects. I know Michael was the stronger storm, but it hit a lesser populated area. Fort Myers is one of the fastest growing places in the state, let alone the country. And it's just a unfortunate situation. And the problem is, and I can say this safely, we will get to sports. I know it's a sports shuffle. People are going to want to hear us talk sports at some point. But for Fort Myers, I do know when we were evacuating our stuff down to my wife's parents in Rotunda, Florida, on Monday, it was all focused on Tampa, like Charlotte County, Sarasota County. Okay, maybe get some water, you'll be all right. But on Tuesday, when that track really shifted south, Charlotte and Sarasota County were already locked in. Fort Myers was not prepared. They were talking to people in Charlotte County who were at stores.
I'm sure the readiness level went from okay, we don't have anything to worry about to in about 5 seconds.
Well, Charlotte County and Sarasota County were prepared because they're on the southern end of the cone. Lee and Collier were kind of outside of it. So on Tuesday, when they're interviewing people from Charlotte County that are usually at like a Walmart or a Home Depot, they were interviewing people at the bar in Fort Myers on the NBC channel here. What are you going to do? Oh, well, I think we're just going to wait and see how it goes. Well, those are the people that got hardest hit. So I do know I made a plea before the storm with the people I work with. Take this one seriously. I know a lot of them are Sarasota, Bradenton area. Could have been right in the crosshairs. Luckily for those of us who live here, it was not the case.
Well, especially when you were looking at the models and you were looking at the intensification of the storm, where it started and where it went to. That was just.
And I do want to give a lot of credit to the modeling on the intentionally for one. The intensity is the hardest thing to forecast, and they did a very, very good job of that. And two, everybody wants to get on the track. Last Friday, I remember my wife and I were going to Disney for the day. And the storm, because it was going to hit Wednesday, it was my mom's birthday, and it was directly over her house. And if you've been in Florida long enough, usually it doesn't go 5 days out directly where it sets. It's usually going to move. So I'm sitting there going, okay, it's probably not going to go there. And I said, look what's coming for your birthday, Mom. And she's like, oh, it's not going to come here. Well, it did. But it moved from where it hit way to the north, where it was going like 100 miles north of Tampa, and then slowly trickled back south. So the modeling on this one was actually very, very good. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't take it as seriously as they needed to in Collier and Lee counties, Fort Myers, Cape Coral. I do know a lot of people that got out of that area and couldn't go back for several days. But all in all, this is definitely going to be one of the worst storms that has ever happened to Florida. And we really, really hope that we don't get another one. I know personally when we saw that damn blob in the Caribbean after, which if you look at the NOAA site, I think it's a potential tropical cyclone, whatever, number 13. It's supposed to go to Central America, not going to be here. But as soon as I saw that, I said,
You're the first.
no.
Everybody's thought would be GTA. Ah, bleep. Here we go again.
Yeah, it was just my first thought was no. I have no power here, but no. Florida is closed. No, fortunately, not going to be an issue. So,
Well, especially
um,
then when you have the certain sites out there that are trying to get everybody up. Oh, here comes another one. It's like, no.
yeah, pump the brakes on the hype.
Yeah, let's give everyone some time to sort of chill out and just recover and try to remember what normal is.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more about the storm in the next week or so because it is still a big part of what's going on around us locally. But this is a sports show. Let's transition over to sports and let's talk about the Tua thing. Joel, you brought it up. Let's talk about that. What was your first thought when you saw Tua go down with the hand uh, thing?
Just an absolutely chilling image that, regardless of whether or not you're a fan, yes or no, that you just never like to see that at all happen, especially to such um, an important person who, with the Dolphins, this is the best success I think that they have had in recent memory. They were already talking about the 1972 Dolphins, and they were talking about the success that they were having, and all of a sudden you have a new weapon with Tyreek Hill and seeming to, and then just and it was bad. You know it was bad because you had the consultant allegedly who made the call. They
Yeah,
were
the
fired.
unaffiliated neurotechnician,
Fired.
neuro
They're
doctor.
gone. That meant that somebody screwed up by the numbers big, and one has to hope, and one really has to hope that going forward, the Dolphins do not put Tua back until he has been absolutely, positively, completely cleared, and he has proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that he is ready and okay to play again. They need to be crystal clear that he is fully cleared to come back, and I don't think they want to F around with this
No,
one
Tua's already been ruled
iota.
out for week 5. The neurotrauma consultant has been fired. A lot of people want to get on the team on this one, and I'm going to ask you just kind of an opinion question. How at fault do you think the team is itself, the coaches, the team physicians, people like that?
I don't know about how much fault one can put on the team when you have injuries like this happen. You can uh, look to the Joe Burrow situation that's going on. That the soundbite that he said that he's blacked out. He literally he has had times that he cannot remember stuff, and because he's been knocked around because of the concussions that he has played through. So this is just uh, this is something that is unfortunately a part of the game that we all adore and that we all love. But as much as you tend to have, you can fault the Dolphins for some things. I don't really think this is something that you can, unless he is rushed back, unless he is put back before he is ready, unless for somehow he is rushed back and he has something happen which it's made worse. But as far as right now goes, I think by firing the consultant, that the Dolphins have done what they can do to at least to mitigate everything. But uh, right now, other than what has happened so far, I don't think that you can really find the Dolphins at fault. I don't think there's any way you can really quantify the fault. Right? Yeah. Okay, Dolphins front office. Here's how we can prove you screwed up the pooch on this one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure if they handle this absolutely, completely, 100% the right way. But on the other hand, I don't think this is something that we can drop at their feet, going, okay, you screwed the pooch on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. There were some people saying the coaches staff and the players should have said Tua, you got to stop. You can't do this. Now, I liken it to this. If you were in some kind of a medical emergency situation, a car crash or something, and the doctor says, here's what's wrong with you. Because the doctor said to them, hey, this is a back injury. The Dolphins are not going to go, are you sure? Like, I'm a football player. I feel like I know. But the doctor says it's a back injury. The Dolphins go, all right, it's back injury. Tua, are you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good to go. He puts him back out there. Now, important to note, Tua passed the concussion protocol, not just Sunday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, prior to the game. He did take a significant shot to the head. So it is, even though it's unlikely, it is technically possible that he did not suffer a concussion Sunday, and that hit to the head was so violent on Thursday, it caused that trauma. I don't know if I buy that, but as far as the Dolphins go, they were going off the information they had. They were doing their appropriate testing. And if the coaching staff sees no reason to not play somebody, they're going to put them in the game. That's not just the Dolphins, it's the Bucs, it's every other team in the NFL or any other sport. If they say, hey, there's no reason for you to not play, they're going to put them in the game. So, fortunately, Tua seems to be okay. He did go to the hospital for a couple hours, was actually released before the end of the game. He traveled back to Miami with the team. He has, of course, been ruled out for Week 5 against the Jets, but bigger issue is his health seems to be relatively good at this point. It's going to take time to heal. They will not put him out there early, and it did change some of what happened with the concussion protocol and the way that things are going to operate going forward. So big picture, long term, it could actually be a better thing for the NFL and the safety of other players, but a very, very scary scene last Thursday night. Definitely not the relaxing, hey, football, yay, a distraction from reality that I was hoping for. And as a Dolphins fan, definitely not the result as the Bengals win that game 27-15. Yeah, fortunately, Tua is okay and is giving us an opportunity to review some of the processes in place that hopefully will prevent a more significant injury later.
Yeah, as you tend to sort of look over the week, what the biggest quote unquote loser was. So I've got some candidates here for you. Are you ready?
All right.
Of course, the Dolphins for endangering Tua. That's one. The Broncos for losing to the 0-3 Raiders.
And losing Javonte Williams for the season.
The Steelers for losing to the Jets.
Jets now 2-2.
The Ravens for blowing a 17-point lead.
Hey, if you don't do it twice, it's just luck.
And of course, off the field, potentially winner over everybody. AB for stripping in a pool because, yeah, he's AB.
Not to mention the whole Tom Brady marital situation in there as
well.
Yeah,
and of course, another one got to toss out, maybe not as much as a win as a loss. How about DK Metcalf being carted off to go to the restroom?
I like that he owned that. I do like that he got carted off the poo and then he owned it. I'm just going to say it there. Remember a couple years ago, Lamar Jackson went to the locker room with cramps, was gone like 15 minutes, and came back sprinting full speed. And everybody, he had to poo? And he's like, nah, man, I had cramps. DK's like, yeah, I had to dump out, man. Like, hey, it happens. I like that he owned that.
Yeah, that's like, when Coach Tomlin, we'll talk about next week.
Yeah. I'll say the Broncos mostly because not only did they lose to a winless team, they also lost their star running back Javonte Williams to an ACL and more than that.
Yeah, we all know. We all know those of us who had to place waiver wire claims all of a sudden going, oh yeah, well we have Javonte Williams. No, we don't.
No. Javonte Williams out with a knee injury, probably going to be out into next season. This is similar, if not maybe a little more severe than J.K. Dobbins, who was out 13 and a half months.
Of course.
So Javonte Williams 2023 prospects, maybe a half season play. And then he's not, it takes time to get back to these. So
and of course,
probably Javonte 2024.
And of course, the other name showing up on the injury list that not done for the year, but Cordell Patterson, definitely gone for a few weeks.
Yeah, he's on IR, out for at least 4 weeks. He will not be back. Some other injuries from the weekend. Jonathan Taylor An ankle injury, not considered serious, but not playing in tonight's game. We'll get more into tonight's game here in a little bit.
And of course, how about this? If you happen to pick him up sort of as a what the heck flex, how about this interesting story that Bucks wide receiver Cole Beasley has decided to retire effectively immediately as
Thanks,
his
Tom
agents,
Brady.
yeah, as his agents have told me he is ready to be with his family after playing 11 seasons, and it's time to be a full-time dad and husband. As of course, yeah, we've might have seen the story apparently that Giselle and Tom have apparently hired divorce lawyers. So that's it. Yeah. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, things are getting a little bit spicy.
Yeah. Let's talk about some news real quick. Deontay Johnson out of the injury report today with a hip injury. Michael Thomas still not practicing. Brian Robinson Jr. of the Washington Commanders has returned to practice after his carjacking gunshot wounds and has a chance to play this week. This was the guy who made us very low, or made me very low on Antonio Gibson. So fantasy-wise, Brian Robinson probably not the best thing this week, but you can see how he cuts into Gibson's role here in the very near future. I did see Hunter Renfrow returning from a concussion back to practice, so that is good news for him. Mac Jones limited practice. I don't know if they need him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift did not practice today. Tyreek Hill added to the injury report with a quad injury. Xavier Howard for the Dolphins also had no Tua as well at practice. David Montgomery returned to practice today from an ankle/knee injury. Let's see, who else? T. Higgins available to play with an ankle injury. CeeDee Lamb with a groin. I'm fine. I'm good. Going to play. Alvin Kamara returning to practice today. Let's see. Other news. Other big news. Isaiah McKenzie upgraded to limited for the Bills. Jamison Crowder out for a long time with an ankle injury. I think that's the bulk of it. Yeah, Tom Brady with a shoulder should be fine. Kyle Pitts hamstring.
And how about that NFC West division standings after 4 weeks? Everybody is freaking 2-2.
Yeah, it's remember that was like the best division in football last year, and now it's just really not.
And of course we have to give a shout out to Trevor Lawrence, who lost 4 fumbles. He's the first player this century to lose 4 fumbles in the game.
All right, let's quickly go over the scores. We're not going to dive in as deeply as normal because we're already half an hour in. Haven't even started the recap, so we still got to do picks. We still got to do final thoughts. So, all right, going back to that Thursday night game last week, 27-15, Dolphins lost to the Bengals. The Bengals looked a lot better. They did shut down Jamar Chase in that game, but T. Higgins and Joe Mixon very solid in that one. Then Sunday morning with the London game, Vikings 28-25 win over the Saints.
The Saints still can't beat their kryptonite with the Vikings.
Justin Jefferson was great. I've heard nothing but terrible things about the refs, so I'm assuming it was a well-officiated game because those were from Saints fans. And they're not always the most unbiased people. All right, Falcons 2 in a row, winning over the Browns 23-20. They are 2-2.
The Falcons did not Falcons for once. Can you believe it?
Yeah. Cordero Patterson, very good, but now it's going to be Tyler Huntley and Algier. Drake London, though, looks to be the real deal. Nick Chubb, still very, very good. The Bills coming back from 20-3 down to win 23-20. Josh Allen, still very, very good. Down week for Stephon Diggs, but J.K. Dobbins looked fantastic this week. Coming out for that ACL injury. We're happy to see him coming back well. Dallas, 3-0 with Cooper Rush, 25-10 win over the Washington Commanders. Dak not ready to come back, and they have no reason to bring him back there. Currently tied for first in that division with the Giants.
I don't know if you saw the meme with the Commanders of both Commanders are going up against each other, and they're going, ladies and gentlemen, your Washington Commanders.
Yeah, not a great look. Seattle Seahawks 48-45 win over the Lions. DK Metcalf had to go poop, and he got a cart ride to do it. And everybody else was just scoring points like absolute craziness.
Because that
93-point total.
That's the game that you picked that was going to have 90 points in it for that for a barn burner of the day.
Yeah, the Lions offense currently the number one offense in the NFL, and they pair it with the worst defense as well. Chargers 34-24 win over the Texans. Chargers look pretty good for a little bit, but the Texans hang around. Dameon Pierce, a little bit of a breakout performance. 14 carries for just under 140 yards and a very long touchdown. He was actually dropped in the league, I saw, so I got to claim in for him. Tennessee Titans 24-17 win over the Colts. The Titans looked much better. The Colts kind of clawed back into this one. Derrick Henry, 2 straight good weeks. Mo Alley Cox, 2 touchdowns this week. Jonathan Taylor did sustain the injury and is out for Thursday Night Football tonight.
I have to love 4, even though I know we're not talking about the game yet. Still, I think there's an article out there that they might want to update flying because the article is talking about the Colts keys to win for tonight. Jonathan Taylor. I'm going slight logistical detail, kids.
Yeah, he's not going to be playing. Anyways, next up, Giants 20-12 win. The Giants 3-1 somehow. The Bears are somehow 2-2 and really bad.
Can you believe the G-men are 3-1 for the first time since the early freaking 2010s?
This feels like a team that's still going to finish like 6-11. Anyways, Eagles 29-20 win over the Jaguars. Jaguars actually jumped out to a good lead early. Then the Eagles came back. Trevor Lawrence, a terrible day. Still had this team in it. They're 2-2. This might be a real team in Jacksonville.
Eagles and Texans both looking for perfect seasons.
Yeah. Eagles right now, because of the trade with who do they trade with? Can't remember who they traded with. Also have a top 5 pick as the last undefeated team. Let's see. Pittsburgh, a loss to the Jets 24-20. We did see the emergence of Kenny Pickett.
There is a change at the field marshal position for the Steelers.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett now will be starting going forward for the 1-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jets, they do get the win. They get Miami next week.
Mike Tomlin's record of never having a losing season might be in jeopardy with this performance.
Yeah, Cardinals finally look like they might be turning it around. 26-16 win over the Carolina Panthers. They're getting DeAndre Hopkins back in a couple weeks. This team might not be as bad as they looked the first couple of weeks.
If you have to think about if you were before the season started, you're Baker Mayfield, you're going, yes, I'm out of here, I'm out of Cleveland, and then you've had this kind of month in Cleveland where you are probably the worst quarterback in the entire freaking league. And when he's having sound bites like he is having sound bites, oh boy, just as much as he was ecstatic to get the hell out of Cleveland, he is having one hell of a rough start.
Yeah, I would say it's either him or Matt Ryan for worst start through 4 games.
I mean, Rule has got to definitely be on the hot seat to.
He won't last the
season. I mean, he's got to be gone. I mean, the Panthers have to be, without a doubt, one of the most horrid teams in the entire National Football League.
Yeah, I don't think he makes it past the team's bye week by any means. All right, Packers 27-24 win over the third-string Bailey Zappi-led New England Patriots. Bailey Zappi looked pretty solid at given. He didn't have to do a lot. The running game took care of it. But the Packers, probably the most underwhelming 3-1 team. You haven't seen anything that's been like, oh, yeah, that's the Packers. They're going to roll. But they're winning games ugly. Aaron Rodgers said winning this way is not sustainable, but 3-1 is 3-1. Next up, Broncos 23-32 loss to the previously winless Oakland Raiders. Josh Jacobs had RB 1 week. Very, very good. Devontae Adams still struggling to get it going. But the Broncos fall to 2-2, and it's really the Chiefs' division to lose at this point as the Chiefs, beat the Buccaneers 41-31. It looked like a lot of frustration from that last Super Bowl where the Chiefs lost 31-9. But Pat Mahomes very, very good. Tom Brady and the Bucs defense not looking so great this week. But the Bucs 2-2, tied with the Falcons for first place in the division. I can't believe I just said that phrase of words in order. So a big game for the Bucs and the Falcons. And then Game I couldn't see because my power somehow inexplicably went out 3-4 days after the storm on Monday morning. The 49ers win 24-9 over the Los Angeles Rams. Deebo Samuel, a very big game. If your name is not Cooper Kupp and you're on the Rams, you're probably not worth much in fantasy. Allen Robinson was officially dropped from one of my teams earlier this week. So that is the quick roundup from week number 4. A week where football for us was not the biggest priority by any stretch of the imagination. But it's we're a sports show. We got to talk a little bit about sports, right?
That's when you're just happy to once again getting back to life, back to reality,
Yeah. So
back to
tonight,
power, back to power, internet, all those things that you just tend to take for granted.
yeah. So tonight we have the Indianapolis Colts going to Denver to play the Broncos. Um, I don't know if I like this game.
Yeah, because this is one of those games that I think it definitely depends upon both teams having their star power. And right away, you look at the injury report, no Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, and that is a huge, huge part of their firepower. And you're going, okay, they still have Naheem Hines, but if you don't have Taylor, then it's going to be a tough shot for the Colts. I mean, granted, you're looking on the other side of the coin and you're going, okay, well, the Broncos just lost Williams, and so they had their own losses, but still, just you're trying to make a case for the Colts without Taylor. I mean, granted, it's the Broncos, and you look at that dysfunction on the other side of the field, but still, it's just especially with the way the Colts have looked this year, as crazy as the Broncos have been, it's just hard to make a case for the Colts without Taylor. So this is just one of those games that, because of injuries, that you really don't like. But as much as it's absolutely is crazy, and I'm going, okay, I can't believe I'm picking the Broncos, but without Taylor, I'm just trying to question if the Colts can do anything. I'm not sure they could. Not the Broncos are that much better of a team, but they might be able to put something together with that wide receiver core and get something done. It's a crazy Thursday night game. It's just one of those crazy things that you just can't really put anything on, and then you sort of take a dartboard and I can't believe this. I'm picking the Broncos tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Broncos as well. The home team on Thursday night tends to be the better pick
That
for the
means
most part.
that means the Colts are going to win and
Probably.
run.
No Jonathan Taylor is a huge hit. Philip Lindsay, Naheem Hines will try and fill in the role. But between Michael Pittman and the three-headed tight end monster of Mo Alley Cox, Kyle Granson, and Jelani Woods, I don't have a ton of faith in the Colts offense. I think both these have solid, similar defenses. I think Denver might be just a touch better. But then you touched on it. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. The wide receiver depth is better for the Broncos. And not to mention, even though they lost Javonte Williams, they still have Melvin Gordon. They still have it's going to be Divine Ozigbo backing him up. But you still have an established NFL caliber running back where the Colts, it's really been someone who's been a receiving back or a change of pace. I'm going to take Denver. This is going to be a lower scoring game. I believe it's going to be something like a 20-16 type of output.
We're both holding our nose and we're picking the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Broncos in what's not going to be a great game. So let's see. Anybody major out tonight outside of Jonathan Taylor? No. No inactives other than Jonathan Taylor are fantasy relevant. For this game, you're going to want to play Melvin Gordon. You want to play Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, at least on the cusp of things. Michael Pittman Jr., I think, is going to be in your lineup. Do not just chase the Mo Alley Cox points from last week. He had 2 touchdowns, but he's been very, very iffy. If you're going to chase the tight end for the Colts, it might be Kyle Granson, who's been a little more consistent, but all 3 of them have touchdown upside and boom bust potential. it's really not the best fantasy game for anybody. So remember to take your Thursday night players out of your flex if you can. You just put them in your running back or wide receiver slot. You leave yourself that flexibility later. I don't know where we are on picks for wins and losses. I have to get the board back and go through the last. It's been a little bit of a hectic week, if you believe it or not.
You know, I will update some of my horrid picks and I will send them to Ryan. Like,
Yeah, we both have ways of making our picks that are not this podcast. I actually have a work pick'em thing where you have to pick and then you put your confidence, but it locks on Thursday. I can go back and say, here's what I picked in point blank. And I know Joel's got something similar on his end of things. So you're not going to see anybody be like, I had a 15 in 1 week. No. I think I might have had 10. I don't know. I'd have to double check.
If that ever happens, do it professionally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had some good years, but this year has not been one of them for picks. Anyways, let's do final thoughts. Joel, I know you had something that was.
I'm actually going to. I'm going to save it for I think our next one, just to sort of give everyone sort of a kind of a to sort of recover from everything. So, and I'll save that one, and I actually have another one that it was the Miami Herald one. I'll save it. The other one, it's good. I'll save that one for Sunday. But my alternate final thought is just as good because we had a weather reporter who went viral because of what she covered her microphone with. It was, you look at the picture, that's what you think it is. That's in fact what it was, what she covered her microphone with. Starts with a C. So and so, the reporter went absolutely viral for covering her microphone with a condom.
Oh.
So, just absolutely, completely, totally. So it's just sort of, it's a picture. If you do Miami, I think it's like Miami Herald, and it's like, that is what you think it is. So, you never know what a storm will produce, and that happens. So I have my other final thought tucked away. I'm keeping it safe. I just figured everyone is kind of just sort of recovering, and I'm like, I'll unearth it and bring it out on Sunday or Saturday for our next one. But I'll save that one. I'll save that one.
Mine. It's interesting. We talked about the death toll from Ian earlier, and it was brought up. What is it? Because the report I saw earlier today was 125, and that is a Category 4 natural disaster hurricane that brought 15 feet of water onshore, and it's a very tragic event. However, there was another event that happened that also had 125 people killed, and it was a soccer riot in Indonesia. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that this happens with soccer more often than it ever should, which more than one, even once is too many. But you've had in an Indonesian soccer riot 125 people killed, which is the same as a nearly Category 5 hurricane that put water over people's roofs. Soccer matches now at 174 deaths, so it surpassed this level of hurricane. So I'm going to just give you this advice. If you're at a sporting event, don't go on the field like the idiot who went on the field Monday Night Football and got smacked by, I can't think of it. What's his name?
Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner. And he's trying to sue Bobby Wagner. Go to hell. Get off the field. You're on the field. You are part of the game.
The fan is actually suing now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. If I was a judge, I'd be like, oh, hey, guess what? You went on his field. You're not supposed to be on there. He was. He has every right to hit you. That's what he is on the field to do, is to hit people. But if you're at a game, don't go on the field. And if you're in a soccer riot, don't. Just, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And
people are morons.
People are dumb. It's one of those things where You don't like seeing people get hurt or die in any situation around the world. But when you have something as serious as a hurricane that's killing people because there's nowhere for them to go, and then you see a bunch of idiots beating each other to death over kicking a soccer ball, please just get out of here. Indonesia, be ashamed of your soccer fans and your culture of violence at the soccer games. I mean, the whole soccer culture of the hooligans and fighting at soccer. I don't get it. I know there's fights at football games. I know there's fights at hockey games. I've seen them with my own eyes, but it's just like I've never seen 174 people get killed at a football game, and it happens more often than it ever should. That people die at these soccer games. It's absurd. Also, good on Spain and Portugal for adding Ukraine to their World Cup in 2030. That happened today as well. All right, so that's our time. We will be back probably Saturday at some point. Most likely, I don't know. We'll see.
Saturday. Got to get down on Saturday. I don't know the way that's Friday. Saturday.
Yeah, since today's Thursday, we're going to give it a day between. I still have my house to unpack. I still have stuff tomorrow. I'm going to be picking up some stuff that is behind me normally. And some, like, the reason I'm wearing this is because all of my jerseys are still packed. And most of them are not here. So, yeah. So we'll get back to normal. All of Florida will get back to normal. If you do have the ability to help, please do. And again, if you haven't heard from somebody, don't panic. Cell service is down. Power is still down. It's a very bad situation in some parts of the state, and it will be for a number of weeks.
It's always eerie, and it's totally like when you're going shopping, and you're like, okay, you don't get stuff that you don't normally get because it's not available.
Yeah. I mean, the supply chain is going to be jacked up in Florida for a little while, but hopefully if you know anybody down here, they got through safe and sound. I know Joel and I are fine. Our families are just fine. So that's, for us, a very positive thing. But I know for about 125 other people, their families are broken, they're shattered. So anything, if you have the ability to help, donate, give your time, go help clean up, please do. I know life is pretty hectic, but something like this really puts some things in perspective.
Yeah, you may have a week when you lose all your fantasy teams, but hey, if everything is okay and you don't have any kind of damage, everybody you know is a-okay, then you did win.
Yeah, if anything we normally talk about on here, football, sports-wise, is the worst thing that happened to you in a given day, you're living a pretty good life. Please keep that in mind because there are people that right now do not have access to running water in a developed country because of a hurricane. They don't have power, don't have cell service, don't have food, don't have, things can be a lot worse. So keep that in mind.
Like that insane island where the entire bridge is gone.
Yeah, Sanibel Causeway. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Pine Island, Sanibel Island, pretty much wiped off the face of the earth. Big vacation spot that people have these sentimental memories, and it's just gone. Everything is just gone. So it's funny watching coverage going back a couple days and seeing, hey, I recognize this place. I've been there, and it's just destroyed, or it's underwater, or whatever. So yeah, just appreciate what you got. That's I guess the long story of that little last lesson there. So that's our time. I'm Flying Ryan Gilchrist, along with, as always,
Tampa Motor Mouth, Joel Verlin, is what was it? Chris Thomas always would say, tell someone you love that you love them every day because you never know what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah, I mean, all those petty differences that go on between you and friends or coworkers or family, they really don't mean much when everything's on the line like it was in Florida this week. So keep that in mind. We'll be back in a couple days to hopefully be kind of back to normal, talk about Thursday Night Football, talk about this game that's going on in a couple hours, and start our picks for week number 5. Yeah. More bad picks. With that, we go.